gonna do the tweeting out, and then we're good to go. I'll let you know before we're doing the intro.
Powered by Sports Interaction, Canada's Sportsbook.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Game Over Winnipeg. My name is Brady. I am joined here by my good buddy, Kishore. And on a game where the Jets put in an absolutely pathetic performance against the Edmonton Oilers. This game felt almost a little bit poetic. It felt like there was a little bit of, I feel like there was a bit of a display of, one team that decided to, go in and make some key additions at the trade deadline, and one team that maybe thought they were better than they were and decided to tinker around the edges. But before we get into anything here, of course, I'm joined by Kishore, but before I even ask him how he's doing, which I'm sure we all know how the answer is going to be, but before that, want to bet? Then get in on the action at Sports Interaction. The boys of summer are back on the diamond, and March Madness is on deck. Bet pregame, live, and play are on one of our many prop bets. Sports Interaction makes it easy to deposit, play, and cash out. Head to sportsinteraction.com/SDPN, or in Ontario, download the app now using the QR code at the bottom of the screen. 19 plus, please play responsibly. If you have any issues with playing responsibly, please consult the information in the description of the episode here. But yeah, let's get into that. Kishore, how are you doing tonight? How are you feeling?
I just want to say the last time I was on the show, and thank you for having me back again, was in mid-January when they played the Penguins, and they played one of their best games of the year. And I can say that the Jets haven't played a good game since. So at least you and I are trying to do our part to bring some energy to the Jets. Because no one on the Jets brought any energy tonight, except Brendan Dillon. It was this game was the perfect encapsulation to this crap sandwich of a trade deadline for the Jets, and really caps off pretty much the same vibe around this team for the past 4 seasons. We got what we deserved tonight. This team got what it deserved. I think we're going to get more of the same the rest of the way.
Very positive.
I'll bring some positivity later, but for now, I mean, how do you feel positive coming out like that? I mean, we should probably talk about the game before we get into the meta stuff.
Yes, of course.
So the mood around this team, not very good coming into this game. I think the fans are a little disappointed. I imagine the room is a little disappointed with the lack of moves coming in, which we'll get to later. And they came out against the top-rated power play in the league and took 4 penalties in the first 20 minutes.
They
And were lucky to escape just down 2-0.
Yeah, they took 20 minutes in penalties tonight. Kishore, how long is a hockey game? Do you remember how long that is?
I believe it's 60 minutes.
It's
Brady.
60 minutes. Wow, that's incredible. So they spent a third of the game on the penalty. I mean, obviously they weren't on the penalty kill for the entire time because, Connor McDavid, Leon Draisaitl, those guys will make sure that their power plays don't need to last that long. But what is even going on here? Like, my first question, I mean, penalties aside, I think that's so obvious, and I mean, you can touch on that if you'd like. What went wrong here tonight? Like, was it just a bad, like, off the rip? Like, what do you think, especially was bad from the Jets here tonight? With the penalties, without the penalties in general. Like, what did it seem like there was anything that, did it seem like the penalties were like the main thing that caused the Jets issues? Or do you think that, regardless, this was not a game they were winning?
I'm usually a stats inclined guy, and I'm going to quote a couple stats from the games here in a second. But they took a penalty a minute into the game, and then the Oilers' power play didn't leave the zone for almost a full 2 minutes, and they're down 1-0 at that point, and basically back on their heels. And then a few minutes later, you get the 4-minute penalty. And you've basically spent 6 minutes of the first 10 minutes of the game on the penalty kill. And that, I thought the Jets played really well during that 4-minute penalty kill. But that's the story, is like they didn't even have a chance to get started based on the way they came out. And then a bad giveaway by DeMello. I mean, we can talk about it, like the horrendous defensive play before that that led to the Nugent Hopkins goal. They're 2-0, and they're basically just hanging on for dear life just to get out of the period 2-0. And then it starts the defensive breakdowns. It feels like I hate to say this because I think it's an overused phrase, but it felt like the Jets quit in the second period.
Oh, absolutely. I 100% agree.
And, maybe if they got off to a better start, they would have come out harder. They would have been able to maintain momentum. But you can only play back on your heels after against this good of a power play for so long. You're basically gifting Connor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl more time on the ice, where they can just stand around and play at you. And just it wore them down. And frankly, I'm surprised we haven't heard that Connor Hellebuyck has requested a trade after what was happening to him out there tonight.
I tweeted this during the game. I cannot believe that this man has not requested a trade yet. Like, he has been the backbone of this franchise, and Cheveldayoff hasn't put a capable team in front of him since 2018. Like, I just don't understand how he comes here and constantly gets shelled. Like, at what point do you think he just stands up in the dressing room and goes, "What the fuck, guys? Like, what's going on here?" I think
Jets... if we looked at the advanced stats, you would see that Connor Hellebuyck played a good minute of the game outside of his crease tonight. Probably. Because of how wildly the Oilers were just passing around the Jets defense and all the defensive breakdowns.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
that's not a normal thing to see.
Yeah, you mentioned the Jets quitting on the team, and there was one goal, I think it was the fourth goal that Edmonton scored. This was the one, I have it just written down here. I apologize for my language. All I wrote notes-wise for this goal was clusterfuck, because by the time the puck was in the net, so was Carson Kuhlman. There were two guys who bumped into each other like Looney Tunes style, while trying to block the shot or whatever. And again, I'm not giving Josh Morrissey shit for this. I don't think that he's the problem. It's just something I noticed, and he's a part of this team. On this goal, like, he had an opportunity to bust in and kind of strip the Oiler who had the puck at the blue line. He doesn't do that, which again I don't like. I do blame him, but I'm also like, he's not the problem. He's not the problem at all. But this goal just perfectly encapsulated the like quitting on the game. And it leads me to ask, like, at this point, can we for sure just go, the Jets are a mentally fragile team. Like, they do not have the capability to stay in a game where if they face any adversity, the game like is gone. It's done. It's over as soon as the Jets don't score on a power play. As soon as the Jets get scored on a they can't stop a PK. As soon as they lose the momentum, it's game over. And the only sign of life we saw from the Jets here tonight was after Axel Jonsson-Fjällby scores a goal to make it 5-1. And then we get this, kind of, back and forth. I mean, obviously Draisaitl scores almost immediately after that, but at this point, like, is the fragility of this team seeped in? Like, do you agree with me that this team is fragile? Like, I feel like I can't explain it other than as soon as they face adversity, they crumble.
I'm laughing because your exasperation is the exact mood around this team. If you're a fan, I just don't understand it. I will kind of turn this around and say I don't think the Jets are very good, and I think what we got for most of the season was a team playing above themselves, where they were scoring at a good clip, getting. And they had one of the best goalies in the world playing like it. And then all of a sudden, those top scorers have stopped producing, and it's all fallen apart. So fragile, sure, they're fragile, but they're also just not very good. Having one injury with Pierre-Luc out kind of shows that they really needed to bolster things up front for them to make a move. I kind of expected a not great performance after the trade deadline because they really didn't get any validation from their own team and management, but they also just sort of played like a team that doesn't feel like they can compete against actually good teams.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not even sure Edmonton's an actually good team. They're just like a playoff team.
I think they're pretty good, especially with the addition of Matthias Ekholm. I think they're a much better team than they were prior. But
I wouldn't go pretty good. I think they're good. Because I think there's still problems with their PK, and we don't need to get into Oilers land talk here. I think they have a very similar depth issue as the Jets have, but outside of that, they just don't have the ability to score right now. So I don't think they're as bad as we're seeing tonight. I think they're a better team than what we saw tonight, but I don't think they're much better than that. And what baffles me is, what are we doing with these line combinations?
Oh my God.
I was looking in the third period at Connor Scheifele-Wheeler. It is the year 2023. Why is Connor Scheifele-Wheeler a line? Brady and I have been talking about that line for 4 years needing to be broken up. I looked, they had a expected goal for at 10%. 10%?
Yeah. Classic, just vintage. Yeah, I don't get it. And I don't understand how we started this season where Bones was like, I want to put together this, in quotes, super line of having, Scheifele, Connor, and Ehlers. And then, of course, Ehlers gets hurt. But that was the initial plan. Like, I understand why, things change. You start to, season goes on, you understand your players a bit more. But I just don't understand how we've gotten to this point where Blake Wheeler is playing what? Like, it's obviously going to be really skewed tonight because of the penalties, but Blake Wheeler played, 14 minutes, and Nikolai Ehlers didn't even hit 10 minutes on the ice. Like, and I get that a lot of that is PK time, but you have to find a way to get this player playing. Him and Nino Niederreiter were fantastic. Were great tonight. Like, they were the only two players that it felt like gave a shit, other than like Morgan Barron was good. Morgan Barron was, battling, I would say. At least I
felt like Brendan Dillon was trying.
Of course.
And I think he was, but I agree.
But as far as like difference makers, like I think there was at least one shift in the third period where I saw, I don't know if this was just a, Scheifele stayed on late kind of thing, but it was Scheifele with Nino and Ehlers. And I think that is the right combination that you should be going with. Why is I'm sorry, like Blake Wheeler has completely lost a step. Like he is so slow. He constantly is doing the, blind man, stick out, trying to hook a puck when, you're not moving your feet. Kyle Connor is, he's great. Like he's a good scorer, but unfortunately, like he's just not putting in the effort. Same thing with even Scheifele. Like it feels like every single time I look and see those guys on the ice, they're all waiting for the other two players to do something. None of them have the ability to actually jump on a puck and battle for it. I'm sitting here watching the power play and I'm going, wow, Nino Niederreiter is a revelation. You want to know why? It's because he actually moves, and when there's a loose puck, he's like, "Oh, let me help you with that." What is wrong with this team? Like, why is no one willing to put the effort in? I just don't understand. And this isn't, I'm not doing a great hosting job because I'm not really throwing to you with a great question on this. But like,
there's no questions. There are no questions here. There are only questions.
Yeah,
here.
there are only what's going on. Yeah. I just don't get it. I don't get it. And you know what? And actually that kind of brings me to, our next section here where we're going to talk a lot about the trade deadline, obviously.
Before we get to the trade deadline, can I ask you just one thing that I don't understand that Rick Bowness did? Okay, so Logan Stanley reportedly has requested a trade from the team. We can quibble with the reporting, but that's the reporting that was been done.
Yep.
And he is dressed and playing in the next game. What? When does that happen? For a 7, he's a 6'7" D man on this team. I'm not even hating on him. When does that happen to a team that somebody that far down the roster requests a trade and then is played the next game? That feels like it sends the weirdest message to your team.
Yeah, I don't really understand it too, especially when, we had today we had a bunch of stuff come out from Kevin Cheveldayoff, and one of the things that he said was he's, Rick Bowness is going to dress the lineup that he is most confident in to win. I'm sorry, but either that's a incorrect what Kevin Cheveldayoff did here, because we know that Rick Bowness has leaned on Dylan Sandberg much more than Logan Stanley. We know that he trusts him a lot less or a lot more to not need to be, babysat by Dylan DeMello. I just don't get it. And it even goes to to Stanley's trade request. Like it almost feels like it's like, I get it. And I understand why he is, and he has all the right to request for it, but
100%.
But there's
it's
no
after
reason.
The trade deadline. There's no value in playing him at that point.
Yeah, you're absolutely correct. And we kind of speculated before to see, when he was playing whatever games, we were like, oh, maybe they're kind of, this was before the report came out. Maybe they're just kind of showcasing him, maybe this and that. Yeah. And then, Rick Bowness comes out and just says, no, I want to get, I just want to make sure that the rotation is there.
Like literally a guy holds up his hand and is like, I don't want to be here. And you go, okay, you're in. It boggles my mind because I think it goes to the heart of where we're going in the discussion, like talking about the trade deadline. I think the message sent to this team who has been struggling for the last month, they have cap room, which is the number one item that any NHL team is craving at this point. Just look at Kyle Dubas's text if you want to see how much cap room means to anyone right now. And we didn't use it. And I thought they were going to come out flat because of partially the message that was sent to the team today by the moves that were made. And then the Logan Stanley stuff on top of that, I'm like, oh, the management is telling them to quit. And they kind of quit on him.
For sure. And actually, that's really interesting because I do wonder, Kevin Cheveldayoff said that, this week had, this past 2 week slide had nothing to do with his, the way he treated the deadline. But I just don't understand. Are we good? Are we past the game? Can we get into the? Okay. I just don't understand how Kevin Cheveldayoff looked at this team and the moves that he made indicated that this team was basically like a Tampa. The moves that he made realistically, adding Vlad Nemestikov, adding Nino Niederreiter, and kind of just sticking with these mostly depth options. Like, I like Nino Niederreiter, but on a good team, he's the third guy on a second line or a third line player. Why did Kevin Cheveldayoff go out and do these, like, getting your Barclay Goodrows, your Blake Colemans, and then come out and say, you know, I have confidence in this team? And to me, that just screams, I still think that Blake Wheeler is a top 6 player. I still think that we're totally fine with what's going on here. I just don't get how in his brain, after watching for 2 weeks now, where the Jets have been average. Like, I'm trying to see if I have my notes actually still. Like, the Jets averaged in the past 13 games have averaged 2 goals a game, which is, in this league now, is nowhere near good enough.
That's almost the pace Connor McDavid is scoring at by himself.
Literally, yes, exactly. Great point. I just don't get it. I don't understand how he can look at this team and go, you know, the top 6 is fine. They'll get their scoring back, which obviously the Jets are. I think the Jets are a better team than what we've seen as of late, but that doesn't mean that there aren't serious issues with this team. So what I'm going to ask you now is, you know, regardless of contracts, regardless of anything, let's just say that the Jets want to go in or whatever. They have a good year next year. Can this team win a Stanley Cup if Kevin Cheveldayoff is at the helm? If he is looking at this team now and going, I just need to tinker around the edges, is that good enough? Is that a mentality that is okay to have as a GM?
Short answer is no. I think the Jets have to win a round for Cheveldayoff to keep his job. And right now we're trending towards not making the playoffs. I think it's time to fire Chevy. He's had more than a decade now with this team. And we have gotten close once. But really, let's just look at the last 5 years. His only success was in kind of like a fake year, in the COVID year. And this team has really been a struggle since then. And we haven't seen even though we see some bright spots potentially on the horizon with some prospects, we also haven't seen much come out of their prospect pool in the last 5 years either. Who can you point to on this roster that was a prospect in 2018 that you say, like, oh, you know, good on Chevy's drafting that got us a team here? I think I'm very much on the it's time to move on train. I'm not even on the angry it's time to fire Chevy train. I'm sort of just resigned to the fate. I think as long as he's here, we're not going to move on. And I think the most instructive thing that I heard all trade deadline season was when Tampa made a crazy trade for all those picks for why am I forgetting on
Tanner Jeannot.
Yeah, Tanner Jeannot. And you're like, Tanner Jeannot has like 4 goals or how many ever he has this season.
Five goals and
5 goals and 5
more
picks, right?
And they got 6 assets for him. They got more assets than he had goals on the season.
And everyone's like, why are you doing this? And Julien Brisebois, you know, one of the 3 best GMs in the league, comes on, and he basically says, we overvalue draft picks. If you're not in the top 15 of the draft, those picks don't have as much value as you think. Scott Wheeler wrote on The Athletic, he tracked every draft pick that was involved in a trade going back 4 years and how many of them are NHLers, and it was 1. Like, these picks aren't as valuable as you think. And then you look at trade after trade, a first and 2 seconds going for Jacob Chikrin. We could have made that trade.
Yep.
Didn't move it.
Oh, I'll try and find it here. But when the Timo Meier deal was made, I put out a tweet that just kind of compared the assets that were traded for him. And I think it came out to, like, the Jets equivalent of it would have been Ville Heinola, Morgan Barron, Mason Appleton, and a first round pick. I think I might be wrong, but that's about the Jets equivalent to that trade. And oh my God, I would do that trade a million times over. The Jacob Chikrin one was like it just doesn't make sense because Jacob Chikrin is the exact thing that the Jets are said to want. He is a puck moving defenseman who has offensive touch. The Jets have done everything to get more out of their defenseman offensively. He's a player with term who's cost controlled. He's young. He is literally the perfect thing for what Chevy wants to trade for. And he put the phone away. Like what? I don't get it. And then he comes out when and another deal, like even just a minor deal that could have been made today was JVR. Like this was a player that the Jets apparently were connected to. I know Chevy came out and said, no, everything you see on social media isn't exactly that way. But I can't remember who it was, but someone said that Chuck Fletcher came out and said that they didn't even get a 4th round pick offered for him. Like, why are the Jets targeting Vlad Nemesnikov, which again, we can talk about that addition in a moment if we want.
Yeah, it's fine.
But why are they targeting a defensive forward when over the Jets have been shut out twice? Or well, no, sorry, never mind. My brain just considered this a shutout game because all the goals came out in the end. But the Jets have barely scored, and especially haven't scored when it actually was meaningful. That's the issue. That's the issue right now is that they cannot score.
James Van Riemsdyk for.
Oh, sorry, you cut out there. Do I got you still, Kishore? Hello? Uh-oh. Hello?
I am still here.
You're still here? I missed that. Sorry. What was that about JVR?
Somebody in the chat was asking who JVR was, and JVR is a Flyers player, James Van Riemsdyk. That's all I was saying.
Yeah, James Van Riemsdyk. He's a bit older, but kind of plays a net front style, which would very much complement the Jets and their ability, what their plan is, which is filter shots through the point, and then just create chaos. But anyways, that's neither here nor there. I mean, I don't know. What do you want to talk about now? Do you want to talk on Vlad Nemesnikov getting more points with Chevy? What are you feeling?
I will defend Chevy on maybe the Timo Meier deal in the sense that I think you want to have some sense that Timo is going to be willing to negotiate, even if he's not willing, even if you don't know like what number he's going to come in at. You want to know that he's willing to negotiate. And I got the sense that from some reporting that Meier just didn't want to come to Winnipeg. Okay, fine. But that's not true of Chikrin, who went to Ottawa. If you're willing to go to Ottawa, you're willing to come to Winnipeg. Let's be honest.
Well, he doesn't have a choice. He's under a deal for the next few years. Like he doesn't have a choice on where he goes.
I don't think we heard that from JVR. And I'm not saying maybe the Chikrin move moves the needle. Why aren't we talking about Erik Karlsson coming to the Jets? Why aren't we talking about really big names? Because at the end of the day, what I look back at, and there's a bunch of questions in the chat about like the Jets and a franchise player. What it would take for the Jets to have a franchise player here? We do. His name's Connor Hellebuyck. When you look at the stats, he is the best goalie of the last eight years. And his last 8 years rank among some of the best goalie performances we've ever seen in an 8-year span. Ever. Like we are wasting a top goalie of his generation. We're wasting his career. And they don't have careers that necessarily go into the mid-30s. Like the days of like Brodeur and Waugh playing like madmen to the 30s are gone. This is his prime, and we've wasted it. And we waste it every time we don't go after a big name to really solidify things. You can right now, this team, if they make it in the playoffs, is just going to get crushed by somebody.
Yep,
they just are.
Yeah, it's.
I'm not really excited about seeing Colorado steamroll us like they did to Nashville. Nashville still has a hangover for how badly Colorado beat them last year. I'm not really interested in seeing that in the playoffs at all. I'd rather them actually start to build a team from the from the backside out, which is where their strength is. And as long as Rick Bowness is their coach, who was fired from a playoff team last year, let's be honest with who he is. uh, I don't see success on the horizon for this team. I think it's time for a pretty significant wholesale change.
Yeah, I think I would have to agree, and it's very poignant what you say about wasting Hellebuyck's prime years, because it's so, do you like, I can't even imagine what it would feel like to be an Oilers fan, to be a Leafs fan, to be, all these fan of a team that has constantly struggled with goaltending. They're able to get scorers, but they aren't able to get a save. A save is one of the hardest things you can get in this league. And the Jets have a guy who will constantly, day in and day out, show up and be the best player on the ice, and they still can't do anything to help him. And that's why I even further am more frustrated with the lack of any acquisition this or this trade deadline, is because the Jets are fine defensively. Like the Jets don't need another shutdown line. Like I think they're fine defensively, and for whatever they lack defensively, you have the best goalie in the league behind you. The issue is no one can score. Why the top six has been awful. The Jets had the lowest ranked, or the lowest amount of 5v5 goals in all of February in the entire league. This is a league that the Anaheim Ducks exist in. Like the Blackhawks, who have done wholesale tanking. Like they have tanked and tanked and tanked like we haven't seen since Buffalo in 2015. It's just an absolute joke where we're sitting right now. Like it's
Yeah.
absolutely insane to come in, and it feels like I feel like I've had this conversation on this show so many times now. But it is getting to a point where you really need to go, okay, who is a core piece of this franchise, and how long are they going to be here? How do we set them up for the most amount of success? Because at this point, we're at the trade deadline now. The Jets still have a month out to try to figure things out before playoffs. And who knows, they might, with, PLD coming back from injury. They have the opportunity to get better. But this is the point where now players on this team need to prove why they are, one, NHL players if they're in the bottom six, or two, why they need to stay, why the GM should keep them. Like, I just don't even know where to place the blame right now, because the players don't show up with any emotion. The coach is constantly making line changes that are like line combos I completely disagree with. The system as a whole, as much as we did see success and we were happy with it, this system isn't made for a good team. This system is to prop up a bad team who can absorb defensively what the other team throws at them.
Oh, did I lose you
Hello?
again?
No. That was me. My microphone keeps getting a little jiggy. Anyways, not the point. And then the coach, or the coach, like I said, the system with having the offense come through the defense, I don't think is actually a great way to get success in the league. And then above them, the GM isn't making any moves to throw them a life raft. And I don't even know if they deserve it. Like we are so stuck in limbo, so much in this mushy middle where it's like, who's even to blame? Like what's wrong with this team? Like actually I can't answer this. And I don't think you can either, but I mean if you want to take a stab at it, but like
so I have 2 points. And we haven't said it yet. I think both the Niederreiter move and the Nemestikov move are fine. They're perfectly okay moves. I have really no complaints about the price paid and the players. They're both like defensively responsible. They do the thing they do. And like there isn't a lot of complexity with their game. I look at our top 12 forwards. 5 of them we got on waivers. Is that a way to build a team? Like real and that, like, I wish that was a joke. It's not. 5 of our top 12 forwards we got off waivers. It's just not a way to build a team with any depth. Because they have the horses up front to score under the right in the right system. Um, they just don't have any depth to go along with that. They just don't have a superstar like McDavid or Draisaitl that will carry you through, that are just going to dominate so thoroughly up front. They need to have a bunch of people scoring up and down the lineup to give balance to this team. It was that way in 17-18 when Andrew Kopp was kicking in 10 goals.
Yeah, and earlier in the season when they were having success, it was when Lowry was scoring a ton. Who else? Jeez, there were a bunch of guys in the bottom six who were scoring. Sam Gagner,
like Tanev was scoring.
Yeah.
Oh, I mean, like back in the day.
Yeah. But
people were making fun of the JVR deal because, potential deal, because he has 9 goals, and that's that's not very good for somebody who's known for scoring goals. That'd be 5th on the Jets.
Mm-hmm.
5th.
Yeah.
It shows we have no middle scoring. Like, we have a bunch of guys that score a ton of goals. Like Scheifele and Connor, they're both getting theirs. And then we have no one that's going to chip in like a good 10 goals. But we're going to have like 4 or 5 people that have 10 goal seasons.
But I also think that it's just like I can't even rest on the top end of our roster, because half of the games they're non-existent. They're not there. Like tonight, I can't think of a good play that I saw Blake Wheeler make. I can't think of a good play that I saw even Connor.
I have a hard time getting mad at Blake Wheeler. He's just cooked. Like, he's just not the player he was. Like, I can't get mad at a guy who gets caught by age.
I'm not, to be clear, I'm not getting, and I don't think that you're saying this, but just to be clear, I'm not getting mad at him. I'm just getting mad at his usage. Like, it just doesn't make sense why he is, among the top in ice time, and it's 2023. He's 36 years old. Like, he has lost a step. It's just the reality of the situation. But I don't know.
I think the message to your team is, Mark Scheifele, do you want to make more than $6 million? Well, you better start playing like it. Pierre-Luc, we're secret in the league that you're going to Montreal next year. Well, are you gonna earn some of that money? Nikolai Ehlers, widely regarded as one of the best wingers in Canada. Is he playing like it? I would say not. Even though I love how he's been playing in certain aspects, he's still not playing. He's shooting 6%. Like, he's not Nikolai Ehlers of old. I think there's all these people that you're that's the conversation with. Connor Hellebuyck might be one of the more underpaid players in this league. He makes $6 million for one of the best goalies of our generation. There are all these people that I think your message to them isn't about winning. It is about playing for themselves in their next contract, because they're outside of Blake Wheeler. Most of them are underpaid for the production they can bring, and they're just not showing it.
Yeah, I completely agree. But also, you need to also instill in them that not only are you playing for yourselves, but you're playing for the guys around you. Like, I know that the guys on this team like each other, so like you gotta play for more than just yourself. You gotta play for this team. You gotta put in a goddamn effort. I just want to let you know I am gonna lose you right away on Zoom. So I will ask you, do you have any final thoughts here to mention? Any like silver linings, anything like that, or whatever? Take it away.
I would just say, like, entering the year, I thought this was going to be a bubble team, and we are really bubbling right now. And if it wasn't for Calgary being, bad too, I would feel pretty squarely on the bubble, and that's who we are. It's really unsatisfying to be mediocre for a long period of time, and that's why I think we need to just have a wholesale change across the team.
And I think regardless, the Jets just need to commit to something, because it felt like they committed to running it back this year. It felt like they committed to giving a good swing, and here we sit with Nino Niederreiter and Vlad Nemestikov, which, again, as you said, fine deals on their own in a vacuum, but just not enough needle moving. I am going to lose you right away, so thank you, Kishore, for joining me. I will be wrapping up the stream here very shortly. I'm sorry that this was a very negative show, but I mean, hey, what are we supposed to do? This team stinks. But they're going to get to stink again tomorrow, or maybe not. We'll see how the Jets respond in the second half of their back-to-back. And there goes Kishore. Again, thank you so much to him for joining me. But this was a very tough night. Unfortunately, it is a game day tomorrow, so I will be seeing you all again tomorrow. Despite how bad the game went, this was still a lot of fun. Kishore is one of the best. Go give him a follow on Twitter at ScienceKish. Follow myself at NHL Chunky. Follow Liz at Liz Hood. Follow at SDPN Sports. I was a part of the SDP Game Over Trade Deadline edition. All the markets got together. We did some talking about all the different teams, how they went, a lot of banter back and forth. It was a lot of fun. I spoke on the Jets being kind of in limbo, based on the way that they did their trades this year, as well as I got to talk, from a Jets perspective, being a part of a contenders table. And tonight definitely puts that one in a lot more question. But there is potential for the team to do better in the future. This is still the same team that we saw in December that was winning a bunch of games. So who knows? There's still a month left on this season. Still some time for them to figure it out. I don't think that it's going to happen anytime soon, but they got to put the effort in and see what can happen before they get to the playoffs. Anyways, long outro. I always do long ones. I'm never able to end it. But like I said, thanks again for joining us. We'll be back here tomorrow night. Please like the stream and have yourselves a wonderful evening.
Powered by Sports Interaction, Canada Sportsbook.